LiberalViewer presents.
So, welcome to the October 16th edition of LiberalViewer Sunday Live Clip Roundup. Thanks for joining me. I picked out 16 of the weekend's best, most newsworthy clips for what should be a really informative political analysis and media criticism fair use video for you all tonight. As usual, my clips come mostly from the Sunday morning news analysis shows from the big five corporate outlets of ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, and Fox News, the so-called corporate media here in the United States. I'll also have some good political comedy clips from Saturday Night Live last night. Alec Baldwin did the third in a row week of his impression of Donald Trump, this time parodying Donald Trump's appearance at the debate on Monday, or last Sunday night, excuse me, that I did a clip roundup on, and we talked about during the last live clip roundup. If you're following along as either a recorded show or even the live show, you can check out my clip list at a link down in the video description. You can try to read my cryptic notes, and you'll at least be able to figure out who's speaking in the clips and what the subject of each of the clips are. I've also put links for those watching as a recorded show. There are time links down there to the 5 different topics I'm covering, so you can skip between the topics and find the one that most interests you, or go back to the beginning if a topic really interests you. The 5 topics are really subtopics of the 2016 presidential campaign. I'll be starting with the continuing fallout from Donald Trump's scandals involving groping and kissing women without consent. Apparently, there were the leaked tapes that came out last weekend before the debate, and now there's up, I think, 9 women who have accused him of groping and kissing them without consent. After that, I'll have a couple clips on the polls, and then I'll have a few more clips on Donald Trump seeming to delegitimize the outcome of the election, claiming the system is rigged, and sort of preparing his followers for what looks like is going to be a loss, at least according to the polls, that, you know, if the election were held today, which of course the election isn't held today. Then I'll have a few clips on Hillary Clinton's problems from this last week with the additional Wikileaks leaks about her emails, and some problems with the Clinton Foundation, mostly drowned out by Donald Trump scandals. And then I'll have a final clip at the end of Chris Wallace on his own Fox News Sunday show, talking about his background with the candidates and his strategy for being the first Fox News moderator of a debate, since he's going to moderate the debate on Wednesday, and I'll be doing another debate clip roundup of that debate, hopefully. But first, I want to get to the continuing fallout from the women accusing Donald Trump of groping and kissing them after that tape came out, and I'm going to start off with how Donald Trump tried to call it locker room talk and claim that all the women were lying, and in the debate last week, and how it was parodied on Saturday Night Live. Alec Baldwin did a pretty good job. I think the first week he did a really good job, and it was really funny. The last couple weeks, just more the level of amusing, but you can let me know what you think after we watch a clip from the cold open Saturday Night Live last night over here.
Same question. Do you feel you're modeling appropriate and positive behavior for today's youth?
No, next.
So you don't care about the kids?
Anderson, I love kids, okay? I love them so much I marry them. I've been helping kids my whole life. In 1992, I helped a kid named Kevin McAllister find a hotel lobby. You might remember the documentary Home Alone 2, Lost in New York.
Okay, moving on. Mr. Trump, we received a lot of questions online about the audio tape that was released last week of you bragging about sexually assaulting women.
Listen, what I said is nothing compared to what Bill Clinton has done, okay? He has abused women, and Martha Anderson, hold on to your nips and your nuts. Because 4 of those women are here tonight, 4 of them.
Wait, I'm sorry, who's here? Mistresses? Bill, how could you? How will I go on with the debate? No, I'll never be able to remember my facts and figures now. Oh, Donald, no! Get real. I'm made of steel. This is nothing. Hi, girls.
Martha, she is trying to silence these women, but they need to be respected. They need their voices heard.
What about all the women accusing you of sexual assault?
They need to shut the hell up.
All right.
And that last parody there, I think, really gets to the heart of the contradiction in the way Donald Trump is responding to these accusations from women claiming he groped them, because he spent all this time attacking Bill Clinton and bringing these women. And so, how come he believes those accusations but not these accusations? And I think it's hurting him worse than Hillary Clinton, because Bill Clinton, of course, isn't the candidate. But like I said, I actually thought Alec Baldwin's impersonation he didn't have as many of the mannerisms. He wasn't as careful as he was the first week. There wasn't all this sniffing, and I think it's a much looser impersonation these last 2 weeks. Another person who didn't like Donald Trump's impersonation, didn't like Alec Baldwin's impersonation of Donald Trump, was Donald Trump. At 4 a.m, he tweeted, as you can see here, "Watch Saturday Night Live hit job on me. Time to retire the boring and unfunny show. Alec Baldwin portrayal stinks. Media rigging election." So I, in some ways, agree with Donald Trump that Saturday Night Live hasn't been as funny, especially since Tina Fey left as one of the writers, I think. But I wouldn't say retire the show, and I wouldn't say Alec Baldwin stinks. I just think he's not doing as good a job these last 2 weeks as he did the first week. But you can let me know what you think down in the comment section. I'm reading your live comments along the way as I watch the clips with you. The next clip I want to show is Bill Maher's take on these many accusations against Donald Trump. And he points out that Donald Trump does have a problem with these accusations against him. And it's this one particular corroborating witness, as I will discuss after we watch that clip together over here.
For Donald Trump, with all these accusers, is that there is a corroborating witness, Donald Trump. It was only a week ago, right? It seems like years ago. It was just 1 week ago when this news broke Friday, we loved it, where Donald Trump was on Billy Bush's party bus saying, "I better use Tic Tacs in case I start kissing her." This girl they were looking at, "I don't wait," he said. "When you're a star, you can do anything. You can grab their pussy." And now he's outraged that women have come forward. How dare you claim I did the things I claim I do? I mean, at the debate Sunday, did you see the debate Sunday? Okay. Anderson Cooper was asking about this. He said when he tells people that he grabs women's pussies, it's not really true. I'm not really a rapist. I just say that when I want people to like me. Come on, people. Who are you going to believe, me or me?
And that is one problem Donald Trump has when he asks people to give him the benefit of the doubt, in that all these women are coming out accusing him of doing what he claimed to do. So it's not he said, she said. It's actually they both said the same thing. It's like he said and then she claimed he did what he said, basically. Although in this next clip I want to show how Jake Tapper first introduced this issue for his panel, where he showed Donald Trump saying how have you seen her? She wouldn't be my first choice, when talking about one of these women who was on a claim that Donald Trump groped her on an airplane, and basically saying she's not attractive enough to be groped, which is Jake Tapper makes very clear in his introduction with his commentary. And then he asked this Republican woman congressperson from North Carolina how she reacts to this, and she tries to make this he said, she said argument. And I like the way Jake Tapper actually corrects her. And although, well, I'll talk about that a little more after we watch that 2-minute clip together over here.
That horrible woman last night, you said, "I don't think so. I don't think." She would not be my first choice, that I can tell you. Man. You don't know. That would not be my first choice.
Donald Trump saying that at least one of the women coming out against him isn't attractive enough for him to have groped on an airplane. 9 women have now accused the Republican nominee of unwanted touching or kissing. Since a leaked tape revealed him talking about grabbing women, are more to come? Does it matter to voters? Let me start with you, Congresswoman. Donald, I guess the point of saying that these women are not telling the truth and these charges are false is one thing. Saying, look at her, there's no way I would ever grope someone that looked like that. I mean, I'm guessing that that's not what you would recommend to him.
No, absolutely not. And, you know, first I'll just say the issue of groping, when we're talking about this issue, this is sexual assault. So we're accusing a man of sexual assault here. And I'm not going to debate who's telling the truth, but it is a she said, he said situation. What I will say is that
just to correct you, I'm sorry. So she said, she said, she said, she said, she said, she said,
yeah,
she said, she said, she said situation.
Well, but let's be fair. We have the same situation with the Clintons, both with Bill Clinton, of course, and then of Hillary Clinton defending and attacking those women as well. You know what? Let's move on. If we're going to talk about the issues that affect women in this country, let's talk about the fact that there are 2 million more women who are in poverty today than when Barack Obama took office. 3.5 million more people altogether. Let's talk about the issues that affect women. Let's talk about health care for women. Let's talk about how poverty plays a role in cardiovascular disease, which is the #1 killer of women and is also the most for women of color. Let's talk about the real issues moving forward, and let's move on.
I mean, we would like to talk about the real issues moving forward.
Well, it's nice to see a Republican trying to talk about the real issues of women's health care and women's health, and but that's not the part of the clip, of course, that I like the best. It's where Jake Tapper corrects Representative Renee Elmers there from North Carolina about her he said, she said. It's actually he said, she said to the 9th power at this point. And even that I don't think is completely accurate because, like Bill Maher pointed out in the previous clip, this is what Donald Trump also claimed in that Access Hollywood tape. This is what he claimed he does. So he's on. It's he said versus he said. If he's like contradicting himself. But I thought that was kind of a humorous clip. And now I'm gonna get to some of the coverage. I have a couple clips from NBC covering the same topic of the women accusing Donald Trump. And first, I want to show the Chuck Todd report on it. And what I think is kind of notable about this one is it really spends, you'll see it's almost 4 minutes long. It really details all of the accusations, spends a lot more time than you'll see any of the programs spent on the whole WikiLeaks emails that came out about Hillary Clinton and the pay for play questions raised by Clinton Foundation donors getting Haiti contracts. That was covered only in the panels discussions on the shows. There was like no news reports, but here you'll see almost a 4-minute news report. Oh, I'm sorry. This is a 2-minute 40-second news report from Chuck Todd on NBC's Meet the Press this morning, starting with the Billy Bush Access Hollywood tapes and going all the way to this great speech Michelle Obama gave about what happened in the Donald Trump leaked tapes and his locker room talk, and I'll discuss all that after we watch that clip together here.
Taking week when Trump was under constant assault and seemed to be at war with just about everyone. In the face of more accusations of sexual assault, Trump is lashing out.
It's a rigged election because you have phony people coming up with phony allegations.
9 women have now come forward. Jessica Leeds says she sat next to Trump on a plane in 1979.
When he started putting his hand up my skirt, and that was it. That was it.
Kristen Anderson says she was assaulted at a club in New York in the 90s.
The person on my right, who, unbeknownst to me at that time, was Donald Trump, put their hand up my skirt.
People magazine writer Natasha Stoynoff was interviewing the Trumps in 2005 at Mar-a-Lago. She says, quote, "I turned around and within seconds, he was pushing me against the wall and forcing his tongue down my throat." Summer Zervos, a former contestant on The Apprentice, alleges Trump forced himself on her in 2007.
I pushed his chest to put space between us. Then I said, "Come on, man, get real." He repeated my words back to me. "Get real," as he began thrusting his genitals.
NBC News has not independently confirmed the allegations, and Trump has firmly denied them, instead attacking his accusers.
They have no witnesses. There's nobody around. They just come out. Some are doing it for probably a little fame.
Even suggesting that they should not be believed because they were not attractive enough for him to assault.
Believe me, she would not be my first choice, that I can tell you.
He has blamed the media, blamed the Clintons. He has even blamed a Mexican billionaire. And the Trump campaign has pushed back on all of the allegations, offering a British man who says it was Jessica Leeds who was being flirtatious on that flight 2 years ago, this same witness, Anthony Gilberthorpe, made headlines after claiming he'd supplied underage boys for sex parties attended by British cabinet ministers. And Trump released a statement on Summer Zervos, writing, "I never met her at a hotel or greeted her inappropriately a decade ago." In fact, Ms. Zervos continued to contact me for help, emailing my office on April 14th of this year, asking that I visit her restaurant in California. All of these allegations led to a passionate speech by First Lady Michelle Obama, who rarely weighs into partisan politics this deeply.
I can't stop thinking about this. It has shaken me to my core in a way that I couldn't have predicted.
On Thursday, I sat down with...
And that Michelle Obama speech is definitely worth watching the entire, 26, 27 minutes. If you're watching as a recorded show, I'll actually put a link to the speech down in the video description. It's pretty powerful. It may be the best speech given this entire election season. I didn't have a chance to put it down for the live show because I've been kind of rushed. But I thought that NBC's coverage there, like I said, I thought it was thorough and it was fairly good coverage, but one of the points I think they should have made that they didn't make as to what's the difference between what Donald Trump did and what Bill Clinton did. There are a couple differences. First, Bill Clinton stuff was adjudicated a long time ago. Prosecutors looked at it. A lot of this Donald Trump stuff is new, but another thing is that our standards have really changed. This all happened in, I guess, what you could call the post-Cosby era. While I was watching that clip with you, I saw down in the comment section Phil Presky saying Cosby 2.0, place your bets. And I think that is kind of what you have to look at this in the context of, is Bill Cosby and what happened to him, that there were so many accusers that eventually that kind of built up. I actually didn't take any clips of Ann Coulter, who was on Bill Maher's show last Friday, but she talked about this, and she said that the difference between Bill Cosby and Donald Trump is that people knew about Bill Cosby for years, and all the Donald Trump stuff is coming out 3 weeks before the election. But I don't know. Some of this stuff does go back years, so you can let me know what you think down in the comment section. And I actually want to move on to one more NBC Meet the Press clip where Chuck Todd confronts Donald Trump's running mate, Mike Pence, with that clip he showed in the news report about Donald Trump, or I think maybe it was in the CNN news report, or maybe both of them, where Donald Trump said he couldn't have groped that woman on the airplane because she wasn't attractive enough. And you'll see Mike Pence starts using these talking points about how these are unsubstantiated claims, which Chuck Todd is quick to disagree and confront him on. And I will discuss all that with you after we watch this 4-minute clip from NBC's Meet the Press going back and forth on this issue with the Republican nominee for vice president over here.
Does not want to move off of this issue. In fact, he said he's been getting advice saying that, but instead he has been responding to every single accusation. Here's what he has said about a couple of the different accusers.
She's right. She's a liar. She is a liar. She's writing a story. Check out her Facebook page. You'll understand. I was sitting with him on an airplane, and he went after me on the plane. Yeah, I'm going to go after. Believe me, she would not be my first choice, that I can tell you. Man, you don't know. That would not be my first choice.
That was Friday, Governor Pence. You just dismissed it as just talk. We now have 9 accusers that have come out since you have said it's just talk. Do you really believe it's just talk?
I really do, Chuck. What we have this week is a series of unsubstantiated allegations, and Donald Trump.
Let me stop you there. They're not unsubstantiated.
He's categorically denied.
They're not unsubstantiated.
He's categorically denied those allegations, Chuck.
You have firsthand accounts. They're unproven, but they are not unsubstantiated. You have a firsthand account. We have somebody that disagrees with that firsthand account, but they are substantiated. No.
Well, no, these are not substantiated accounts. These are people who have brought forward allegations going back, in some cases, decades. And Donald Trump has made it clear that he categorically denies that these things ever took place. But I have to tell you, it really is astonishing to most Americans that as these unsubstantiated allegations are treated with an enormous amount of coverage on this network and other networks, that revelations coming out of Secretary of State Clinton's years in the State Department and the Clinton Foundation are virtually ignored by the national media. I mean, we discovered this week that State Department officials actually directed contracts for the Haitian recovery after the earthquake to friends of the Clintons, and literally that got almost no media attention, while those that step forward with these unsubstantiated claims that Donald Trump has denied were treated with headline news and continuous coverage. It's one of the reasons why so many Americans feel like this election is being rigged by a national media that's constantly trying to change the subject away from and practice willful ignorance.
So, Governor, we should
toward the corruption and misdeeds and pay-for-play politics of the Clintons.
Let me ask you this, though. You really believe that women who believe they were victimized by sexual assault, they come out, they should be ignored? Isn't that been part of the problem with rooting out sexual assault in our culture, is that there is this feeling that
Chuck.
women get ignored?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say anything to disparage any woman who believes they've had an experience like this. But Donald Trump's made it clear that these allegations are categorically false. And now we've had more evidence that's come out to challenge those versions of the facts. But the ignorance, the ignoring that's going on here, Chuck, is the way the national media is ignoring an avalanche of real hard evidence of corruption during the years of the Clinton administration. The New York Times just a few minutes ago posted a story about, in exchange for 5 minutes with Bill Clinton, the government of Qatar was going to give $1 million to the Clinton Foundation. We know that more than half of Hillary Clinton's meetings while she was Secretary of State were given to major contributors to the Clinton Foundation. The Haitian government thing, the speeches about open borders, socialized medicine, it's getting virtually no attention in the national media.
You just cited
while
the New York Times.
unsubstantiated claims that have been repeatedly denied by Donald Trump are getting all the attention. And the American people see right through it, Chuck.
You just...
So it seems like Chuck Todd was really ready there for Governor Mike Pence of Indiana, the Republican vice presidential nominee, to use that talking point about how these are unsubstantiated claims. But that's really more of a semantic argument. I mean, as a former criminal defense attorney, I can tell you if the victim of a crime, like a sexual assault, comes in and testifies to the jury, this man here, Donald Trump with the bushy eyebrows, like I saw one of the people this week talk about his distinctive bushy eyebrows as the identifying feature that she knew it was Donald Trump. If a woman comes in and tells the jury that man sexually assaulted me, that is enough proof for the jury to convict someone. You know, then the person who's accused has a right to cross-examine that witness through their attorney usually, and then the person who's accused also has a right to testify and give their side of the story. But the jury can believe the woman and not believe the man and convict the person based just on the testimony of the woman. There doesn't have to be substantiation or whatever. I mean, then the person who's accused tries to find out, finds inconsistencies in the testimony if they can, and the person who's the prosecutor tries to find substantiating witnesses, and that's why you might think, is it substantiated or unsubstantiated? I mean, it's kind of a semantic question, but a woman's testimony that she has been sexually assaulted is enough to convict someone if the jury believes it, and subject to cross-examination, subject to the accused's right to tell their own story. But that is enough evidence to convict someone. That doesn't mean that any of these women's stories or statements of facts, depending on your point of view, would be enough to convict Donald Trump. That's what we have the whole court process for. But that's my take on how Chuck Todd was cross-examining Mike Pence in that last clip. But so now I want to move on. Well, this next clip is kind of a transitional clip. It shows, it's the ABC News report on Donald Trump's problems with the women's accusations, so it fits the last subject, but it also shows this latest ABC poll, which is actually has Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump within the margin of error, and it has this really weird part of it you'll see in the story that says that Donald Trump is actually gaining with non-college educated women. that by many, I think, double digits, and it's pretty inexplicable, and it seems Donald Trump noticed that as well, and I'll show you what I mean by that after we watch that clip together. Over here.
Is one of the worst 10-day stretches of any campaign ever, sparked by that tape, the accusations of sexual aggression, and that powerful repudiation by the First Lady.
A candidate for President of the United States has bragged about sexually assaulting women. And I have to tell you that I can't stop thinking about this. It has shaken me to my core in a way that I couldn't have predicted.
1,400 miles away at a sweltering South Florida fairground, there was Trump, sounding victimized, wounded.
These false attacks are absolutely hurtful. To be lied about, to be slandered, to be smeared so publicly, and before your family that you love is very painful.
That speech marked a turning point. His rallies getting wilder, mocking his accusers.
Believe me, she would not be my first choice, that I can tell you.
Unloading on Clinton.
Hillary Clinton should have been prosecuted and gone to jail for what she did.
Throwing out the theory she took drugs for the debate.
I think we should take a drug test prior to the debate. I do. Because I don't know what's going on with her. But at the beginning of her last debate, she was all pumped up at the beginning.
All this is a series of national and state polls show Trump's path to victory looking less likely with every passing day. Beyond the traditional battlegrounds, Trump showing surprising weakness in deep red states like Utah, Texas, Alaska. But our new poll shows that while Hillary Clinton is holding on to her lead, Trump's supporters are sticking with him. Among likely voters, Hillary Clinton is beating Trump by 47 to 43 points. That 4-point advantage essentially unchanged from her 2-point lead a month ago. And this surprising finding, Clinton's lead among female voters is actually falling, off 11 points as white women without college degrees rally to Trump. And while Republican lawmakers, especially those in competitive races, may be running away, the party base is as much with him as Democrats are with Clinton. Her support among Democrats, 89%. 86% of Republicans are with him. As for those accusations of sexual aggression, 68% of voters say he probably has made unwanted sexual advances toward women, which he's denied. But 84% of Republicans say it won't affect their vote.
With those brand new polls.
So Martha Raditz's report there at the beginning, I thought, did a pretty good job of showing these negative stories, this terrible series of stories that Donald Trump's campaign has endured. And then the poll that came afterwards, it was a little surprising. I mean, it wasn't really great news for Donald Trump, but especially that part there that said that Donald Trump is gaining with women. That was really surprising. And Donald Trump also seemed to notice that poll. I noticed he tweeted as I was preparing the show at like 2 in the afternoon here. Finally, in the new ABC News Washington Post poll, Hillary Clinton is down 11 points with women voters, and the election is close at 47 to 43. So you can see Donald Trump is very happy about those poll results. And I don't really understand them, especially compared to this 30-second clip I'm going to show from CBS's Face the Nation. John Dickerson explaining their poll in the battleground stage show Hillary Clinton getting a big jump with women voters, I think from like 5 to 15 points. And I'll show you that clip and discuss it after we watch together here.
Shows a dramatic shift in the key 13 states we're watching here at CBS News. The candidates were tied last month. Now Hillary Clinton is ahead, 46 to 40% over Donald Trump. That jump is due to gains from women voters. Clinton has gone from a 5-point edge in September to a 15-point advantage now. This following a videotape where Trump boasts about groping women and allegations this week from 9 women that he did just that over the last 35 years. We'll hear from both.
So you can see that's sort of a completely different result from the ABC poll, although the CBS poll is a battleground tracker poll. It's the 13 battleground states where they were tied the last time they did it, which is a little bit, they expanded from 11 to 13 battleground states. I mentioned this when they did that. It makes the election seem closer than it would have been because a couple of those states, North Carolina and what's the other one? Did they add Arizona? I have to go back and look. But a couple of the states they added are traditionally Republican states, and so it skews it towards making the election seem closer. But in those states, at least, they show Hillary Clinton going from 5 points up with women to 15 points up with women, and they have overall up 6 points. And the even better news for Hillary Clinton and people who don't want Donald Trump to be the president is in this NBC Washington Post Marist poll that has Hillary Clinton up 11 points and does even better with likely voters, as I will discuss after we watch that 37-second clip over here.
A new indication of just how dire things have become for Trump. In our new NBC News Wall Street Journal poll out right now, Hillary Clinton leads Donald Trump in a four-way race by 10 points among registered voters, 47-37. If you limit it to just likely voters, check this out. Clinton's lead actually grows to 48-37 before likely voter models would actually help Trump, not in this case. But there is a silver lining for Republicans in this poll, and it may be in Congress, where the Democratic lead has snapped back to just 2 points, 46-44. A week ago, it had opened up to 7. These numbers come after a head.
So that's the NBC Washington Post Marist poll, which actually makes it look like Hillary Clinton has a pretty comfortable lead. I mean, I'm feeling more comfortable. I think that may be why Sandy seems to be feeling a little bit more comfortable. Doesn't she look more comfortable this week? I think it may be that she's a little more comfortable that Donald Trump is not going to be president. We can all feel a little more comfortable about that. But so that's the last clip I want to show on the polls. The next few clips I want to show are on the way that Donald Trump seems to be preparing his supporters for the fact that he's most likely going to lose this election if all things go the way they're going right now. And that's by claiming the whole system is rigged. And I first wanted to start off with the way Bill Maher made fun of that over in his monologue. Although he talked about how everything's rigged, the media, and I think he mentions the banks here, and that's one of the weird anti-Semitic tropes that Donald Trump has been using. Not that he's necessarily anti-Semitic, but it's like a dog whistle to certain supporters that, when you talk about the bankers, that's, I think when you see Bill Maher mention the bankers in this clip, that may be on his mind because he, instead of saying the word Sherlock, he says Shylock. I watched this a few times to be sure. He's definitely saying Shylock, not Sherlock. And Shylock, of course, is a Shakespearean candidate who's like a classic anti-Semitic stereotypical character. Did I say candidate? I meant character. And I'll talk about all that a little more after you watch this joke from, the last set of jokes from Bill Maher's monologue last Friday on HBO's Real Time over here.
He was all on this dump yesterday and today talking about how this is a giant conspiracy, a sinister global power structure. You know who's in on it? Everybody. The media, the banks, the Clinton Foundation, Carlos Slim. He said there's a whole deal going on. We're going to have to figure it out. I always figure things out. Yes. Okay, Shylock. I could see him in Trump Tower right now, with one of those walls with the newspaper stories and the headshots, drawing lines between them with a red marker. Okay, I'm an asshole. Women hate assholes. Women can vote. It doesn't add up. All right,
So, yeah, that was Bill Maher's last joke in the monologue, and it was kind of funny there, though. Like I said, the reason I took that clip is because I know he said Shylock instead of Sherlock there, and I wonder if that has to do with what he's talking about the bankers, because several people have been commenting on Donald Trump's use of the big bankers conspiracy as a possible dog whistle of anti-Semitism. And having shown the political comedy clip there, now I'm going to show ABC's This Week with George Stephanopoulos with the co-host Martha Raddatz talking about this exact issue, how Donald Trump is seeming to be setting up his supporters for a loss and delegitimizing the results of the election. and how it even got the Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, to make a statement that you'll see at the end of this clip.
Crowds, Trump now casting himself as a victim of corrupt politicians, global financial interests, and the press, all conspiring to tear him down and rig the election.
There's a whole sinister deal going on. The Clintons are criminals. Remember that. They're criminals. The election is being rigged by corrupt media pushing false allegations and outright lies. But we are going to stop it. We are not going to back down.
Trump's intensity and the concern that many of his supporters will reject the election results should he lose. Enough to push the nation's top elected Republican House Speaker Paul Ryan to put out this extraordinary statement. Our democracy relies on confidence in election results, and the Speaker is fully confident the states will carry out this election with integrity. This hour, we'll talk to Democratic Vice
So that's actually kind of disturbing that Donald Trump is like setting himself up as, a victim and claiming that the election is rigged and delegitimizing the results before the vote has even been counted. And I've talked about this a few times on the Sunday Clip Roundup, that he may be setting himself up to start a new network, like with Roger Ailes, although he has a non-compete clause, but also with the Breitbart guy, Steve Bannon, and that he may be setting himself up as some sort of tribune of the basket of deplorables or whatever. And that's kind of the point that Bill Maher makes in this next clip. I took this clip from CNN's Fareed Zakaria GPS program, where Bill Maher was not the host, he was actually a guest, and I thought that he said a few interesting things, and I wanted to include them in the show. This is his analysis of what Donald Trump may do after the election in response to what Fareed Zakaria asked him in this clip.
Trump do, in your view, after his probable defeat?
Not good things. I worry about that. I think a lot of people do, because first of all, he's got his knuckle draggers all riled up about the fact that this is a rigged election. I think I read 65% of his followers already believe it is a rigged election. It talks about Hillary putting her in jail. This is dangerous talk. We saw that woman at the Mike Pence rally this week. I mean, first of all, they live in this, again, alternative reality where the country's hanging by a thread, and if she is elected, it's this existential threat to our way of life on Earth. It's just insane. But if you have that mindset and then he loses, what happens? I don't think he goes away. This is a Caesar crossing the Rubicon moment. He's got an army. What's he going to do with that army? I think he will be, people say he might start his own Fox News type station. I don't know, but I don't think it's going to be good. I think he's going to be the Che Guevara of deplorables. I think he's going to be a revolutionary out there, and he's going to be a martyr to this loss. I hope loss, and I don't know what they're prepared to do. They already talk about things like Second Amendment solutions. That phrase becomes a lot more acceptable.
Do you think he believes in...
Well, I hope the Trump supporters aren't going to get violent if and when Trump loses, since it's looking more and more like Trump is going to lose and Hillary Clinton is going to be our next president. I hope there aren't going to be riots in the streets or, that would be awful. But I do think that it is looking like Donald Trump is preparing himself for a post-election career as someone who was cheated, who was robbed, who, the system is rigged and he's going to fight the rigged system. And I don't know if that's something we're going to see after the election, but that seems to be the way it's going, which is why I wanted to show those few clips on the whole rigged election topic. So now I have a few clips I want to show on Hillary Clinton's problems this week that got almost no coverage. They were pretty much drowned out by the Donald Trump sex scandals. More WikiLeaks emails came out, and more transcripts of her speeches to Wall Street came out, and then there was some reporting that there were some big donations to the Clinton Foundation for people who then got State Department contracts for Haiti relief, and maybe was it someone from Qatar or Brunei? I can't remember. Someone gave $1 million to talk to Bill Clinton for 5 minutes, or offered that, or these are some stories that are coming out, not getting much coverage. And I'm going to show this joke from Saturday Night Live. Colin Jost talking about the WikiLeaks leaks and how they're not getting a lot of coverage over here.
Meanwhile, WikiLeaks released all these emails from Hillary's campaign, and no one's talking about them because the Trump stuff is so much more ridiculous. Who would have thought that mastermind hacker Julian Assange would do less damage than Access Hollywood's Billy Bush?
I guess that is kind of funny, but I also want to show a Bill Maher clip, and this is not from HBO's Real Time with Bill Maher. This is the second clip from his interview with Fareed Zakaria on GPS this morning, and Fareed Zakaria actually asked him, when are we going to get to know the real Hillary, which I think Bill Maher did a good job of sort of debunking the premise of that question. But then he talks about having read the emails, and I read a lot of the emails, and there's not really much scandal in there. Most of the scandal is sort of like trumped up outrage, and pun intended, I guess, and I will discuss that a little more after you hear Bill Maher talk about that. First, dispel the question from Fareed Zakaria, and then he pivots kind of to an attack on Trump by the end of this 2-minute clip over here.
So, who is Hillary Clinton really? I mean, one of the things people wonder about is, who is that person behind this, what seems like a programmed facade?
I don't find her to be this mystery that people... I mean, she's been out there for this long. Look, she's certainly shell-shocked from 30 years of being attacked. I don't think it's anyone who's ever been more scrutinized, over-scrutinized. I always say she's like a black driver in a white neighborhood, and the police are the Republicans. They keep pulling her over, and they keep having to let her go. So obviously she's guarded. Maybe she's that way from the beginning, from her upbringing, but I can't blame her. And I mean, we're starting to read all the emails. There's nothing in there. They reveal what she is, a government nerd who never stops working, the kind of person who knows details, who believes government can do good. And I just think that's exactly who she is. She's someone who wants to roll up her sleeves and make a problem better, like Bill Clinton said at the convention. I don't think there's much more to it than that. I certainly don't see a scary person. She's a centrist. The idea in their minds that she's going to change the country very much is crazy. Bernie has moved her to the left to a degree. That's good. But she's not going to rock the boat. And what's so ironic is that he's the big businessman. They love him because he's rich. And of course, if you're rich, anything you say is brilliant. But he's the one who's going to lose everybody their money. I've been saying this for a long time, and now I see business people are saying it too. The market will tank before he's even taking the oath of office, because the market is very nervous, hates volatility. They pretend they hated Obama as the stock market went from 69 to 18,000. But they loved him, really, because he's calm. He doesn't rock the boat. He's steady, and the market loves that. And Donald Trump is just the poster boy for volatility.
And if Hillary Clinton is...
So I really like all three parts of Bill Maher's answer to that question there. First, the way he kind of dismissed the premise of the question, and I think his analysis of the emails is also pretty accurate, that there's no real scandal there, and the way he's talking about the riskiness of Donald Trump, also true. But on the second point about there being no real scandal in the WikiLeaks emails, I think one of the greatest pieces of evidence that proves that is over on Fox News Sunday this morning, which was guest hosted by Bret Baier, while Chris Wallace is preparing to be the first Fox News anchor to moderate a presidential debate. Bret Baier asked Vice Presidential nominee and Virginia Senator Tim Kaine about some of the embarrassing things in these Democratic emails that were leaked by WikiLeaks. And you'll see they're easily dismissed by the vice presidential nominee here, Tim Kaine. And if this is the best that Fox News can do to trump up these scandals, it shows you pretty clearly there's not that much there, as I will discuss with you after we watch that 2-minute clip together over here.
Senator, a lot of information is coming out, as you know, in these WikiLeaks emails, including some pretty embarrassing things from communications in the Clinton communications staff and Clinton campaign. Are you comfortable with what has been said in some of those emails about Catholics, about Latinos, Governor Richardson, a needy Latino, about former NAACP leader Ben Jealous, taking him to be powerless? What's your reaction to the specifics we're learning and the substance of those emails?
Yeah, Brett, let me do it, but before I get to specifics, and I want to talk about a couple of them, we just got to be a little bit careful about these, because since they're part of an effort by both Russia and WikiLeaks, and neither of those are kind of neutral transmitters of information, you can't just automatically assume that everything is on the up and up with these emails. Just as an example, there's one email that references me that is completely inaccurate, and whether it's inaccurate because the sender didn't know what he or she was talking about or it's been doctored, I don't know. I don't take all these at face value. But let's talk about the Catholic one, Jen Palmieri, who is Catholic. She has said, yeah, I sent that email and I had some opinions and I shared them. But I do know what Hillary Clinton thinks about Catholicism, because she picked a Catholic running mate. And we talked an awful lot about my own faith background. And she and I feel like that's a connection for us. She's Methodist, but had a powerful experience as a young person that still drives her today in her own faith practice. So I know with respect to Catholics, she views this as an asset because it creates a connection between us in terms of our approach to service. So yeah, look, some of these emails that are leaked, if they're accurate, they show people offering, opinions and mouthing off a little bit here and there. But that's the kind of thing that happens.
But Senator, there's more.
When I watched that last part there, I think for the second time, and this is the third time, because I watch it the first time, then I watch it when I capture it, then I watch it with you. So I watch all these clips at least 3 times. And the second time I noticed at the end there, Senator Tim Kaine is talking about, that people mouthing off and, that's going to happen or whatever. It almost sounded like locker room talk to me. But of course, the substance is a lot different. And I think you have to agree with my analysis I gave before I showed the clip, that if that's the best that Fox News can do to question the vice presidential nominee of the Democratic Party about the WikiLeaks email leaks, then there can't be a lot of stuff there. But, almost all these clips I've been showing on the presidential campaign have been on sort of character issues. There's the women accusing Donald Trump, and then there's the honesty issues with Hillary Clinton and these emails and some of the snarky inside campaign stuff that they were just talking about. What I think should really cause people to vote for Hillary Clinton, especially people like me who were supporters of Bernie Sanders, is the actual issues in the campaign. And I think the person who can best make that case is, of course, Senator Bernie Sanders himself, who was on HBO's Real Time with Bill Maher last night, and not last night, on Friday night. And I couldn't leave the subject of the Hillary Clinton side of the 2016 presidential campaign without showing Bernie Sanders first talking about how progressive the Democratic platform is, and then responding directly to a question from Bill Maher about supposedly only 55% of his supporters are going to vote for Hillary Clinton. And I'll discuss that a little more with you after we watch that clip together here.
Is the Democratic National Platform.
What do you have there?
Democratic National Platform. It's at democrats.org. We fought very hard to put together the most progressive platform in the history of American politics, which, among other things, breaks up the large financial institutions, reestablishes Glass-Steagall, and moves us to health care for all.
And Hillary Clinton is running on this. That's the platform of the convention that nominated her. Only 55% of your voters say they will vote for Hillary.
I don't believe that's accurate at all.
Really?
I think the numbers are much higher. I think at the end of the day, the vast majority of the people who supported me will take a hard look. Look, what media tries to do, I think, is make this into a personality contest. And in that case, you have 2 personalities, frankly, who are not terribly popular. But if you look at the issues, which candidate wants to raise the minimum wage to a living wage? Right. That's Hillary Clinton. Which candidate believes that climate change is a hoax? That's Donald Trump. Which candidate wants to give hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars in tax breaks to the top 0.2%? That's Donald Trump. Which candidate wants to rebuild our crumbling infrastructure? That's Hillary Clinton. Who wants to take on the pharmaceutical industry? Clinton is pretty strong on those proposals. So I would just ask people, get beyond the personality issue. Take a hard look at which candidate is better for the middle class and working families of this country. And I think the answer is very clear. It is Hillary Clinton.
Okay. So Everybody's ready for Hillary.
Okay, well, I'm persuaded. Of course, I've been persuaded for quite a while that even though I voted for Bernie Sanders in the California primary, that when it comes to the general election, I have to vote for Hillary Clinton. She's not my favorite candidate, obviously, based on my primary vote, but she is so much better than Donald Trump. And, I mean, every clip I've shown before that clip, I think, is evidence that supports the argument I'm making. But you can let me know if you disagree down in the comment section, and that's the last clip I'm going to show on that topic. So before I finish the broadcast, I have one more clip I want to show. Chris Wallace is usually the host of Fox News Sunday, but this week Bret Baier subbed in so that I guess Chris Wallace can continue preparing for Wednesday night's debate. I'll be doing a debate clip roundup either Wednesday night or Thursday morning California time, so sometime before noon California time on Thursday. But Wednesday night, Chris Wallace will be the first Fox News moderator of a presidential debate, and he talked with Bret Baier about that, talked about his history with the candidates, including a very old Donald Trump clip from the 1980s. Chris Wallace talking to Donald Trump on the floor of the Republican National Convention in the 1980s, believe it or not, and talking about flirting of all things, and then also talking about his debate strategy as a moderator. And I'll discuss that with you after you watch this last clip for the evening over here.
With these two candidates, I saw some video of you interviewing Donald Trump on the convention floor in 1988.
It's true. I was one of the floor reporters for NBC.
One of the interesting things about any national convention is the surprising people who show up on the floor, and here tonight is real estate tycoon and best-selling author Donald Trump.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. You have flirted with the idea of politics. Now you're here at your first national convention. Does that get you interested in possibly making the plunge?
Now you have to tell me something. Who told you I flirted?
Well,
I didn't know that I flirted.
Well, I wasn't talking about this year, Mr. Trump, but you have said that if you ran for president, you'd win.
I think I'd have a very good chance. I mean, I like to win.
And then Mrs. Clinton?
The first time I ever met her, actually, was also in '88, but it wasn't on camera. This was when Bill Clinton gave the nominating speech for Michael Dukakis, and after going on and on and on, finally he said,
"In closing,
well, the next day, Clinton went around to each of the various networks to do a kind of apology tour, you know, to say, well, oh, maybe I talked too much, but to save his budding political career. She came along with him. I did the interview with him.
You've interviewed both candidates on Fox News Sunday. You've given them both tough questions before.
Are you a little thin-skinned?
no. I'm only thin-skinned when somebody says bad things that are false."
He not only directly contradicted what you said, he also said in that hearing that you were extremely careless and negligent.
Well, Chris, I looked at the whole transcript of everything that was said, and what I believe is, number one, I made a mistake.
An interview, it's you and the candidate, and you're the person holding them to account. This is a debate, and you know they're both going to be on the stage. If I think there's a need for me to intervene, I will, but I would prefer not to. And basically, you're there as a timekeeper, but you're not a participant. You're there just to make sure that they engage in the most interesting and fairest way possible. And I take it very seriously. It's not a TV show that we're doing. This is part of civics, the Constitution, if you will, in action, because this is helping millions of people decide who we're going to elect as the next president.
But at this moment.
So you can see there Chris Wallace previewing his debate moderator strategy for Wednesday night, that I guess he's not going to be much of a fact checker. He's going to try to facilitate the debate and not be very noticeable in the debate. I've heard him talk about this multiple times over the last couple months since he was named as one of the moderators. I actually think that fact-checking is a good function for journalists to do at a debate. You know, if they have the knowledge and they're sure about their facts, I think they should do it. But you can let me know what you think down in the comment section. That's the last clip I'm going to show for the broadcast tonight. As I said, I will be doing a debate clip roundup from Wednesday night's final presidential debate. If I have a chance, I'll be doing it sometime late Wednesday night, or if not, I'll do it sometime Thursday morning before noon Pacific time here in California. So join me for that if you have a chance. And I'm still planning a book review, as I've said a bunch of times, of this book right here, Who Cooked Adam Smith's Dinner. It's going to be called Is Economics Anti-Feminist, or something very close to that. And I will be giving my patrons on Patreon a draft version of that video for comments and criticism to help me make it better before I release the final public version. If you want to become one of my Patreon patrons and help me out to keep making these videos, and if you appreciate all the work I did today, took about 8 hours or so before the broadcast to watch all the shows and capture all the clips and think about my commentary and put the show together for you. You can become one of my patrons on Patreon at a link down in the video description. If you want to give me direct fan funding through YouTube, which is more anonymous and one-time donation, there's a link right here, a little eye you can click on to become one of my fan funders. I also appreciate that. If you can't support my program financially, I appreciate all of you who just give my video a thumbs up or share the video on social media, put your comments, both the live comments and the recorded show comments. I thank all of you for joining me, and I guess I'll be seeing you around at the debate clip roundup and next Sunday around the same time, hopefully. And outside of those live streams, I guess I'll be seeing all of you around the internet.